Thought for the day for May the 22nd. Today's readings: Joshua 8, Isaiah 12, 1 Timothy 1-3. Today's theme: how one ought to behave. Paul's letter to Timothy is full of advice and instruction we can use for ourselves. He tells Timothy that, "I hope to come to you soon, but I am writing these things to you so that if I delay, you may know how one ought to behave in the household of God, which is the church, the assembly of the living God." 1 Timothy 3 verse 15. Paul goes on to explain how each community of believers should have overseers or elders. He goes into great detail about the qualities such persons ought to have. He must be married and have brought up children, for if he cannot effectively manage his own household, how will he properly care for God's church? Verse 5. Also, he must not be a recent convert, or he may become puffed up with conceit and fall into the condemnation of the devil. Verse 6. What is this devil? How can an overseer be seen to be condemned by a devil? The translators are inconsistent, for the Greek word diabolos, they translate here as devil, occurs again in verse 11, about what the character of the wives of deacons should not be. They translate diabolos as slanderer in this case. The character of deacons' wives must be such that they never stoop to slander anyone. Where diabolos occurs in 2 Timothy 3 verse 3 and Titus 2 verse 3, the translators have rightly rendered it as slanderer, or some similar word depending on your version. Jesus said, "Have I not chosen you, the 12? Yet one of you is a devil," diabolos, John 6 verse 70. It is greatly regretted that the church, over time, built up a totally fictitious story of an evil, supernatural spirit being. So it makes sense to understand Paul's advice that they should not make a recent convert an elder or overseer until he has developed godly wisdom, to prevent the possibility that he could fall into disgrace and the snare of the devil, diabolos. Those who take any position of responsibility in God's church must be dignified, not double-tongued, not addicted to much wine, not greedy. They must hold the mystery of the faith with a clear conscience. 1 Timothy 3 verses 8 and 9. Timothy is told that he should set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. Chapter 4 verse 12. We should all take Paul's advice as to how one ought to behave in the household of God. Yes, God's household. Do you belong? We do hope you found today's Thought for the Day helpful as we seek together to look into its pages and to find the message that God has for us. Join us again tomorrow when we look for another thought for the day from His Word.